Hello, everyone. It is me in Pennsylvania. I hope everybody is doing well. We've got this kind of weird light going on here. I don't know what I can do about that. Maybe if yeah, that's better. Oh, yeah, that's a lot better right there. There we go. Okay. I know it's Unfound Live for a Thursday. It is December 31st, 2020. As you can tell, I am not in Florida. I'm not in the Unfound room with the sign, the sign picture, piece of artwork that my assistant Heather made for me that usually sits back here. No picture, no Unfound picture painted by Laura Buck back here. I am in Pennsylvania. And I think anybody who follows me on Facebook knows that yesterday, my dad and I left Florida, Clearwater Beach, Florida, at about 7 in the morning. And we made it here to Renfrew, Pennsylvania, where my dad lives, and where he and my mother moved way back in the end of 2004. That's where I am now. We made it about 10 after 11 last night. Drive was fairly smooth. Did rain once we got into West Virginia, into Pennsylvania. It wasn't a hard rain, but it was that kind of rain that made the highway kind of glaring, and you had a hard time seeing the line. So toward the end, it got a little iffy. It wasn't that cold. There was no risk of ice or anything, but towards the end, it was a little harder to see than you probably would have liked. But we made it. What would that be? About 17 hours. I think we stopped 3 times for gas, a couple times for the bathroom. So it's a pretty good time. We made pretty good time. There were no wrecks or anything. And unlike when I drove down there like almost 3 weeks ago. Yes, it was kind of a spur of the moment thing. My dad decided that that was it. So he decided on Tuesday, and we jumped in the car on Wednesday. And so I am here now, and I will be flying back to Florida tomorrow about 2:30. We'll get there around 5. And my brother Brian is supposed to pick me up at the airport in Tampa. So I will then be back in the Florida area. I was supposed to play in a disc golf tournament this weekend. That's not going to happen. So I will be doing Unfound work. As for tomorrow, I can just tell you right now that after getting a couple different suggestions regarding an episode for tomorrow, I am going to replay the episode, The Disappearance of Jennifer Wilkerson, because of Vicky passing away within the last couple weeks. I thought that would be appropriate. And then you can, being that there was an update on, not just Vicky, of course, passing away, but just told you a little bit more about Jennifer's disappearance, some things that have been discovered since we did that episode back in the summer of 2017. Now that you've heard that update, you can now go back and listen to that episode, the interview that I did with Vicky, and kind of put it all together. I think this will be good even for people who've already listened to the episode originally. And then I know that many people who have found the program more recently maybe have not had a chance to go back and listen to all the older episodes. So this will give them a chance to do that. And I was going to make, and I'll be talking about it a little bit later, I was going to, of course, the interview is already done. I was fully prepared to get to complete the disappearance of TJ Murray for tomorrow. But because of these things happening, I just didn't have the time. The interview has already been done and edited, and it sounds great, but I've not had a chance to record my side of that episode yet. So that will be next Friday. And but so you already know that. I usually don't like to give a forecast that far in advance. But being that I've already posted some things about TJ already, I think a lot of you already know what the episode was going to be for tomorrow anyway, so I might as well just talk about it. However, I really won't get into the details of it like I usually do on a live show until next Wednesday. But I guess all of you can start looking into that. What's going to be exciting about TJ's, and once again, I'll talk to, I will talk to you about it next week, is that I got to talk to a variety of people, not just TJ's father, who is the official interview for the episode, but 3 other people who have a lot to do with this disappearance in various capacities. I got to speak to all of them, and I may actually get to speak to at least one more person before next Friday, and that would be great. So I think we're going to have a lot of coverage for TJ's disappearance, and so I think it's a great way to start off 2021. So tomorrow it's just going to be, it's not going to have new commentary or anything. It's just going to be a replaying of Jennifer Wilkerson's disappearance from, once again, I think it was the beginning of August or late July of 2017. I will upload it tomorrow morning before I leave for the airport. So who's in here? Hello, Concha, and Kathy, and Kim, and Jasmine. Angel, hello, Cherie, and Jill, and Elizabeth, and LaFord, and Alice. Alice says, like, my phone's acting weird. Sorry to hear that, Alice. Hello there, Diana. She says, ugh, my phone's acting stupid, keeps buffering. I know that recently we've had some buffering issues with the live show and the think tank, as a matter of fact. I think that's something that it's out of my hands. I think what's going on there is because the building that I live in, it's a large building, but most of the time from between like March and November, there's not a lot of people in it. But then December through February, a lot of snowbirds, a lot of people from Canada come down and stay in that building, and it soaks up the Wi-Fi. And I think that's what's going on right now. I think. Not totally sure, but I think. Because I don't think we've had too many issues like that in the past. But if you're having any buffering issues now, I don't know what to tell you. I'm just here at my dad's house on his own Wi-Fi, so it shouldn't be any issues. Rarely have I had any computer problems here that I can think of. Jill says, oh man, I'll be in session until 8. Well, I don't know how long this live show is going to go. I did not bring much of an agenda tonight, frankly. Got some things that I want to talk about. But I thought I should just do one. I did not want to just leave 2020 like we did with last week. I just didn't feel right about that. So I wanted to try to get something done. And I really want to give a shout out to my assistant, Cherie, who on very short notice found out that I was going to be do the live show. And so she's in here moderating everything, making sure everybody behaves on very short notice. So Cherie, thank you for making some time this evening. I appreciate it. Melissa says, hi, Ed. Ann and I are here. Okay. Glad to hear it. Thank you, Melissa. Thanks for tuning in. But as I always say, as you're watching this, if you would like, please do give this video a thumbs up. Please hit the like button. And that makes sure that this live show will appear on the algorithms on YouTube. I'd appreciate that. But so let me look at my agenda. Now, I don't have a regular desk here. I have to look down here. So if you're wondering, why is Ed looking down to his left? Well, actually, yeah, well, it's to your right. It's my left. So let me pull this up. But being here in Pennsylvania, you should know it snowed overnight. So there was no snow on the ground when I got here. Got up this morning and snowing. We went out today. Dad and I had the plans to go eat somewhere, but here in Pennsylvania, they are on the lockdown, and so no restaurants are open. All you can do is take out or drive through. And so, of course, we couldn't do that. So we went to the local grocery store, which maybe some of you have heard of, is Giant Eagle, and spent some time in there doing some food shopping. And I posted on Facebook while I was there that, just it's so very depressing here. It's, I grew up here. I lived here for 28 years. I'm used to being overcast. I'm used to the cold. I grew up in the cold, in the snow, and everything. But and I was here just 2 years ago when my mother passed away. I was here from mid-November until like the end of January. So I did spend a large portion of that winter here. So I'm familiar with Pennsylvania winters. But, with the restaurants being closed, and I mean, Giant Eagle today was a madhouse. Now, granted, it's New Year's Eve and everything, but it was a complete madhouse. But there was also kind of a dreariness to it. And, having been in Florida where, there aren't a lot of restrictions going on there. There's no restrictions on how many people can be in restaurants or anything. You have to wear masks and all that, but certainly no restaurants being shut down. There was a time when that certainly was the case back in like April, May, but that's not going on now. Hasn't been going on for a while, and it's not going to be going on for a while. And I'm not here to get into the politics of it, but in Florida, there does seem to be a sense of normalcy. They're trying to keep everything as normal as possible as all this continues. But here in Pennsylvania, I made the joke to somebody, it feels like what East Germany must have felt like in about 1975. That is not a compliment. Just very dreary. It feels like a very depressed area, and I feel bad for everybody that has to try to get through that in this particular state. But as I say, there's a reason I don't live here anymore. Had a fantastic childhood growing up in Lynchburg, Pennsylvania, and everything, but there was a reason that I moved to Las Vegas in 1998, and there's a reason that I live in Florida now. And there is a reason that if I come back here for any length of time, it's during the summer. So got a lot of respect for people from Pennsylvania, everything. But, man, it was depressing being out there today. Ugh. And it was cold. And I'm wearing some of my dad's slippers. The floor is cold here. His house is actually pretty warm, but but it's just a slab. There's no basement. It's just a concrete slab in the ground. So the floor is usually cold, and so I had to put some slippers on. My feet were cold. What's Angel? Let's see what Sharon. Thank you for being so generous on this New Year's Eve. Thank you for the super chat. If you're wondering what's going on there for some of you, Sharon has hit the super chat button, which is that gray square with the $sign in the middle. If you'd like to contribute to Unfound, contribute to what we're doing, contribute because you like what's going on, you see in this video, please hit the super chat button, and I would deeply appreciate it. As you know, Unfound is not supported by any ads. It never will be supported by any ads for a variety of reasons I've talked about a few times on this live show and probably in the Q&A episodes, both of them. So this is a pursuit that is financed by myself alone. And so any contributions through PayPal, patreon.com/Unfound Podcast or Super Chat, I would deeply appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Sharon, for being very generous. Zebra, hello, Zebra. What's going on? Angel says, yep, that Pennsylvania lately depressing. Zebra, sorry to hear about your mom. Thank you, Zebra. Yeah, she passed away on November 28th, 2018. So a little over 2 years ago. And because of that, I'd stayed through that winter into end of January. Shocking, Diana says. If anybody doesn't know, I've known Diana since we were teenagers. Hello, Diana. Okay, so PA is like SoCal. No restaurants, etc. No end in sight, but it doesn't bother me. Yeah, it seems like Pennsylvania's copying California in many ways regarding COVID, Kathy. That's my perception. Melissa says, Houston weather is about the same without the snow. Hello, Louise. Diana says, Leechburg is still the same. Yeah. Kim, Oklahoma is called green country, but in the weather I call it stick country. That's funny. My mother is my sister. That's interesting. Okay, my mother. Alice, it's not you, my friend. It's my phone. It's old. I'm getting a new one in a week. Well, I hope so, Alice. I was hoping maybe you could have gotten one for Christmas. My dad got a new phone. Was it Monday? Got a nice one. He now has a nicer phone than I do. It's really nice. It's bigger than my phone. I forget what it is, though. But he was due. I think the phone that he was using was about 10 years old and didn't have a very good camera on it and not a lot of memory. And so he went and got a new one while he was in Florida. He got some things done while he was in Florida. He got a new phone while he was in Florida. And he also got a tooth pulled while he was in Florida. So he wasn't there for that long. But he had a few things. He got a few things done while he was there. So here I am. Like I said, tomorrow, I think my flight takes off at 2:30 and lands in Florida at 5. I'll be flying Spirit Airlines. I took no luggage. So I'm wearing, not to be dirty about this or anything, but the clothes I'm wearing today are the same clothes that I wore yesterday to drive up here, and these are the clothes I'll be wearing tomorrow, simply because I didn't take any luggage. So that's what's going on in Pennsylvania. We'll get back. Don't know what, like I said, probably be doing Unfound work this weekend. Got some things lined up. Not even sure what the weather's going to be. I'm not doing anything for New Year's tonight. In fact, I would not be surprised if I was in bed by midnight. And 'cause New Year's is not one of my favorite holidays. In fact, who was it? Let me check this very quickly. Who was it? Carol asked me, what is my favorite New Year's Eve movie? I didn't even know that was a thing. So I can't, Carol, I'm sorry, but I just can't think of enough New Year's Eve movies. I can think of Christmas movies. Of course, there's a controversy regarding that. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie? Is Lethal Weapon a Christmas movie? I don't know. I think they are. But New Year's Eve, New Year's Day movies, I just don't know if I just can't think of any. So, Carol, it's hard for me to make a selection. I just can't think of any. So let's move on. I got a lot of questions to answer. And like I said, I did not bring much of an agenda, but just to catch up on some things. No, there was no Patreon blog this past week, simply because it's an update episode. I mean, I think the episode, which was almost 4 hours long, speaks for itself. I don't know if there's any blog that I could write that could expound on anything that was covered there. Now, I will mention, though, that we had a very good think tank on Sunday night, going over a few of those updates and really getting into them a little bit more. What do we think about them? For example, Stephen Kocher with all of the new information, the documents that have come out. What do we think about, Unique Harris and somebody being, Isaac Moy being charged with a murder, and how that came about and why did it take 10 years? So we still had a very, very good discussion at the think tank. But as far as writing a blog, I just didn't know. I think I said all I had to say, and you got to hear my voice enough last Friday for almost 4 hours. So I thought that was enough. Once again, patreon.com/Unfound Podcast if you'd like to become a Patreon supporter. There will be no blog this week either. I don't think. Maybe. I'm going to have to go back and look and see if I actually ever wrote a blog for Jennifer Wilkerson's disappearance in the first place. I have a book on her, chapter of the Unfound series, a book on her, a chapter on her. But I don't know if I actually wrote a Patreon blog on her disappearance. I'm going to have to check that. If I have, then I probably will not write one. If I haven't, then I would say there's a pretty decent chance that I will. I'll just have to go back and check. So we'll just have to see. There was no poll last week. Once again, update episode. I don't know what poll question would be entirely appropriate for the circumstances. I would never ask, which update surprised you the most. I don't know. I like to stay away from superlatives like that. So there was no poll last week, and there was no blog last week. But I think that makes a lot of sense given the circumstances. Let's see what some Lavorde says. Twilight Zone marathon for me on New Year's Eve. My friend Shay, who I think some of you know, she was down here in 2019. Very, very close friend of mine. I've known her for 20 years. We worked at Star Trek together. LaFord, she is a crazy Twilight Zone fan. I think they're okay. They're certainly strange. And, they're certainly creative, and there's always that twist ending and everything. But I would not say that I'm as crazy about the Twilight Zone as a lot of other people are, and certainly not as crazy about it as my friend Shay. But certainly popular, certainly. Rod Serling, what an interesting guy. If people were to look up his life, how the Twilight Zone got started and everything. I'm just a really, really interesting guy, but people just think, oh, he's that guy, the voiceover and everything, Twilight Zone. He's much more than that. So if you have a different chance to read up on him, I would do so. Dark says, Happy New Year from UK. We've hit 2021. Yeah, it's coming our way, isn't it, Dark? You're in the cutting edge of the time frame here. So congratulations to you. And I think, I'm not sure how much different 2021 is going to be from 2020. I think in some places it's going to be very different. In some places, I don't think it's going to be that much different, unfortunately. But you just have to hold out hope. Just have to. LaFord says, my goodness, what a great update episode. Well, thank you, LaFord. I'm just accumulating the information. There was a lot to, LaFord, as you know, I know you're one of Unfound's most energetic supporters. And so that, and I think in leading up to the update episode, I wasn't really sure how long the update episode was going to be. I was thinking, man, maybe a couple hours. And then the more I started looking at going back through all these disappearances, I thought, well, there's more than I thought. And then, of course, we had some late news. Remains found near Robbie Hurt's truck. Remains found near where Bradley Brooks's car was. Somebody being charged with Unique Harris's disappearance, murder, /murder. Then that certainly added on to it. And before I knew it, it was like 3 hours and 50 minutes. So, and that's just in the last 4 months. So what will happen come April, the end of April for the next one? It's just hard to say. Maybe we'll be talking about some trials that have occurred or are occurring. I'm going to predict that maybe some more remains and some of other disappearances we've covered pop up. Maybe a couple more people will be charged with murder in a couple of these disappearances. You just never can tell. You know, who would have thought 4 months ago that an update would be that Eric Franks' car was found? Nobody could have predicted that. So who knows what I'll be talking about in April, but I thank you for that, LaFour. Thank you. Melissa says, I think the theme of your update was COVID and trial postponement. Side note, we may have crossed paths in October 2001 if you were working the truck experience. Melissa, were you a guest at the experience? I was certainly working there. I was working there in 2001. I actually worked there on September 11th, 2001. I worked a swing shift that day. So certainly I was there in October 2001. So probably did, Melissa. Probably. Thinking the theme of this episode was COVID and trial postponements. Certainly did talk about that a lot, Melissa. Cannot argue with that. Kim, I watched The Twilight Zone when it was new as a kid, and it scared me so much. It is scary, Kim. It is. Especially if you're a child, especially. Dark, can I ask, why do you block commenting on your YouTube videos? Because we just do not have the manpower or woman power or person power, Dark, to manage the comments section. Our experience is that much more on YouTube than anywhere else, you're going to get a lot of kooks, a lot of inappropriate comments, and everything else. And frankly, as the boss, I don't want any of that stuff on those pages. I think it makes Unfound look bad. So the comments are turned off. If people want to comment, if they want to make suggestions, they can come to Facebook and get into the group or other ways to comment. It's just, YouTube is just too crazy. It's a great medium. I love using it, especially when I'm doing the maps that are companions to the episodes, which I think are very important. But from a management standpoint, we just don't have the person power to do that. I would also say, Dark, maybe what you don't realize is that many times the reason that people leave the comment sections open is not because they care about the comments. They don't care about the comments. The reason they keep the comment section open is because that they're hoping that people get into discussions. Well, every time you go back, you make a comment, you leave that page, and then you come back to it later. That counts as a view for the video, whether you watch it or not. And so the only reason they keep the comment section is to get their views up, even though people aren't technically watching the video. I don't know if you realize it or not. And because I don't care about numbers, I care more about professionalism and making sure when people have an experience with Unfound that it is a good one. Is it a PG rated one? We have 250 videos on YouTube. You try to manage the comment sections on all those. Especially when we're all, I'm the boss and everybody, my assistants who work for me are volunteers. Just can't do it. Just can't do it. And I've talked about this before. One of the Q&A episodes, I talked about that. And because YouTube can quickly become a cesspool very quickly. Now, if YouTube was the main place where Unfound released material, for example, like John Lorden does. John Lorden doesn't have a podcast. He does videos. His only channel is on YouTube. And so that's all he has to worry about. Then it's very easy for him to manage the comment section because that's where he is. Whereas for Unfound, YouTube is a secondary resource for us. Our first resource is Podomatic, iTunes, Spotify, etc., audio platforms. That is a video platform is secondary. Thank you, Zebra. Thank you for being a fan of the program. I deeply appreciate it. And thanks for watching, everybody. Thank you for showing up on a Thursday instead of a Wednesday. I really appreciate it. Melissa says, yes, we were there on vacation. It was the best part of the trip to see the Star Trek experience. Well, I'm glad to hear that, Melissa. I'm glad we could entertain you. It was a great job, a lot of fun, and in many ways, I miss those days. Alice, Ed, can I hitch a ride to Florida when you get back there, please? Alice, unfortunately, I only bought one ticket, unfortunately. But there are tickets out there if you'd like to. And Florida has a lot of spaces you can move into. No problem. Dark, I get it. Sometimes it's good to chat, exchange ideas and opinions, but I get the trolls are hard to control. Yeah, they are. They are. Okay, Zebra. So there's that. Somebody had asked me, how can you do that drive 17 hours straight from Florida to Pennsylvania? How do you do that? I realize even like my brother or my sister and her husband who are in Florida now, when they leave from Ohio, they make it a 2-day trip. They drive like halfway and then go the rest of the way. They only end up driving for like 8 or 9 hours and then stopping and then staying over and then driving the rest. How is it, Ed, that you could do this in 17 hours straight? My suggestion to anybody, having driven across the United States a few times and driven between Pennsylvania and Florida many times, is that you really have to conserve your energy. I know now, granted, I was with my dad this time, and of course we talked a little bit, but it's all about conserving energy. So even when I drive by myself, there will be long stretches where I don't have anything playing on the radio and it's just quiet. It's just me and the road. Because I know what happens for me when I listen to the radio music mainly is that you get all pumped up and you start singing to the music and bebopping to the music and that expends energy. And that's no big deal if you're just going on an hour trip or 2-hour trip or something. But 17 hours, it's very important that you conserve your energy. And so your mind has to be very clear. And I think that's what a lot of people don't realize. Even when you're sitting there, you're expending energy. I think the other thing is that as far as your sleep patterns go, you have to prepare for that. So if you know that you're leaving at 7 in the morning, then you're going to have to try to go. You have to start planning a couple days before that. Now, I didn't get to do that this time. But, if you're used to going to bed at 1 in the morning and getting up at 8, and then the day you're going to be driving this long drive, many, 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 many hours, you're planning on leaving at 7, it's going to be tough because you're going to have to get up at 6 to get prayer. So you're getting up 2 hours earlier than you usually would, and you're upsetting your pattern of what your body's used to. So anytime you're going to do a long drive like that, you have to start preparing several days beforehand and thinking about that. And then on top of that, if you're going to do something weird, like maybe leave at 9 at night and then drive through the night to get somewhere at 8 in the morning, you certainly have to prepare for that as well. Once again, regarding your sleeping patterns, if you're used to sleeping at night, then it's going to be difficult to drive at night. So that's what I think people overlook. It's the conserving of energy, especially early in the trip, those first 5, 6, 7 hours, that you really have to be at peace and concentrate and not expend a lot of energy early on because you're going to be still in that seat 10 hours from then. That's what I think I've learned. That's the suggestion that I would give to anybody. Now, in my dad's Jeep, it's a little different because the Jeep, not a big fan of his Jeep. The seats are not very comfortable. They're certainly not as comfortable as my Sonata. And so it actually helped to get out once in a while when we got gas to kind of stretch out and everything. So it also depends on what kind of car you're driving. Those are my suggestions. Juanita. I'm not going to read that, but I've already talked about this. If you want to go back like a month and talk about what I had to say about Tyler's case, I don't know why you think any of that. I don't know why you're taking somebody else's word on some things I never said. So, Sheree, if you're still out there, if you could block Juanita, obviously, Juanita, you're just not following. You just don't know what I've said on the topic. You're just taking somebody else's word, and that's that. And that's all I have to say about it. All the people here know my attitude when it comes to this program, other programs, disappearances, etc. Okay? And I stand by what I said. And obviously, you are taking somebody else's word who has no idea what he or she is talking about. I've not dodged this topic, and I think if you're interested, I think it was 3 weeks ago, and in fact, I'm sure we tagged it. I'm sure Natasha tagged the topic regarding Tyler Stice and his disappearance and all of that. You can go back to that video from, like I said, I'm thinking it's 3 weeks ago, not actually Wednesday, so maybe the beginning of December. And the last 20 minutes of that video is on that topic alone. So if you want to go back, you want to watch what I had to say or listen to what I had to say, and you want to contact me again privately, we can talk about it. But obviously, if you're going to post that, then you just don't know what I've said about the topic. You just know what somebody else has said about the topic. Somebody looking into my motivations who doesn't know me. So that's all I got to say. Let's move on. Let me answer another question here. Let's just start at the top. Which missing persons report has had the most impact on you and why? Suzanne, I would love to answer that, but I don't like to put superlatives on that. I would just say I will say this. Obviously, Eric Franks' car being discovered within the last 4 months has had a huge impact, not on me, but I think anybody who knows anything about that disappearance. I mean, I think we're all shocked. And then more recently, as far as paperwork goes, getting to see all of the Stephen Kocher paperwork within the last month and then being able to publish it and show it to everybody. It's I know that even though I thought I knew a lot, and I think I do know a lot about Stephen's disappearance, there were certainly things in there that I didn't know, was finding out for the first time. So that certainly had an impact on me as well. I'm guessing it had an impact on other people. But I don't want to get too much into that superlative game of like all time and everything. I just don't. Brooke asked about who do you think killed Tom Brown? I'm not gonna answer that. We don't get into that in this or any other forum. I'm not saying that he was killed. We just don't talk about it. We don't talk too much about theories here. Charlene asks, do you ever get overwhelmed and or frustrated by the unsolved cases? And if so, how do you deal with it? I think that if if you, it's one of those things. I think you just have to. I know it's a horrible cliche. You just have to put one foot in front of the other. I think that anybody who does this, if you really start thinking about the enormity of the problem, and you start looking into the actual, facts and figures regarding how many unsolved missing persons cases there are, anything, it's easy to get very frustrated and to feel like you're trying to empty the ocean with a little teaspoon. Absolutely. But that's not really what I do. I just look at the disappearance that we're covering for that week. And granted, just for that week probably means we've been working on it for at least over a month. So I just try to keep, as I've talked about many times, including talking about Tyler Stice, I just try to keep my eyes on my own work. I don't know what anybody else is doing. I know what I'm doing, and I'm just trying to help that person at that time. I already know that I'm not going to be able to help everybody. That is not possible. Just not possible. But if you start thinking in those terms, then it's easy to think, well, I'm just wasting time here. As the saying goes, don't let perfect be the enemy of the good. We're not trying to be perfect here. We're trying to do as good a job as we can, but it's easy to get caught up in trying to be perfect if you start thinking about how many disappearances are out there, and you can get frustrated. So we're just trying to do what we can. We're just trying to do the best job that we can. And but I wouldn't say that I get frustrated about the most frustrated I get, and Emily knows this in particular, is when people say that, yeah, I'm going to be available for interview at Sunday at 5:00, and then when I call, the person never answers the phone and never responds to any emails or calls ever again. It doesn't happen a lot, but when it does, that's easily the most frustrating part of the work we do. Alice says, I will be gifting myself a phone for belated. Yeah, you do that, Alice. Get a nice one. You deserve it. Shri responding to, Juanita, who is now blocked. Thank you, Shri. I got no time for that. Ruth apologizing. Sorry I'm late. Ruth, that's fine. It's a little surprise here on a Thursday night. Tammy, did you hear the rumor Casey Anthony becoming a private investigator? Yes, I did. In fact, I posted that news in the group today, and I said, what did I say? You just can't make this stuff up. And, I have to be honest, though, I did not follow Casey Anthony's trial. That was before I lived in Florida. Not that that matters, I guess, that much. But I have to admit, I really did not follow it that much. I am surely not an expert on it. I know that most people in the public think that she certainly did do something to her child and got away with it. But like I said, I surely do not know all of the technicalities and ins and outs of that entire case. I just don't know. But being that I know what people think about her and that she wants to turn around and be an investigator, getting a private investigator's license or something in Florida. What do I mean, I think recently, I think I've been more than vocal about my attitude toward most private investigators. So should I be surprised that a person like Casey Anthony would want to be one? Maybe not. Maybe not. As I've said many times, although it doesn't come out in the episodes, that many of my guests have been scammed by private investigators. Many. But yes, I have heard the news. I don't know if there's anything legally that can be done about that, Tammy. I know that if she's becoming a private investigator, being that I've looked at the criteria, it's not just as easy as going and signing a piece of paper. So we'll just have to see. Hello, Laura. Shri says, also, good grief, if you have me blocked on the live show, you too will be removed. Yeah, some troll working it on New Year's Eve, Shri. Hello, Karen. Gotta go, Alice says, can't stay. Happy New Year. Yeah, Happy New Year to you too, Alice. Thanks for joining in. Like I said, this was a little unplanned. Only even put up this link like an hour before. Ruth says, Casey was a photographer first. A PI wouldn't hire her. Guess anyone can get a license. I just don't know, Ruth. I think it's a little more involved in Florida than it is in some other states. But I just don't, I guess I guess we have to look at it this way. It's certainly possible for her to become an investigator, but is anybody really going to hire her? That's the big question. Alice, okay. Sarah, what kind of scumbag would even hire that? Well, thank you, Sarah, for pointing that out. That's great minds thinking alike there. Okay. Yeah, hold on a second. So let's move on. Diana wants to know how long I'm staying. I am leaving tomorrow, Diana. I'm getting the heck out of here. Probably leave here around. Flight takes to get there maybe leave here at noon tomorrow, and get to the airport around 1. Take off at 2:30. Land in Pennsylvania around 5. Brother picks me up. I should be home by 6. And that'll be nice. I have to make sure that my headphones are charged so I can listen to my music on the plane. Diana says no coffee. No, Diana, I just don't have time. I'm sorry. I'm out of here. It's an in and out, Diana. I just don't like spending any more time here than I have to. Nothing against anybody in particular, but this state, this time of year, depressing. It just is. Let's move on. Unfound now. I think I probably will have some time this weekend to do an Unfound now, and I'll just tell you what it's going to be. It's going to be on Jason Landry, this young man who disappeared on his way home from college. It seems he was using the Waze app, which is an app that I know very well. In fact, I was using it yesterday. I use it often. So I'm very familiar with it. So I'll get to talk about that with my experience. But it seems like he got off on this back road and had a wreck, and it's still, I guess, almost a month later, and they're still looking for him. So that's going to be the next Unfound now. I think I will have time to do that this weekend. And as you know, the purpose of Unfound now is to teach people about disappearances. How we at Unfound look at them, what we see, how we read between the lines. And I realize that other places do it different ways. Find by me. But I'm just telling you what we do as just part of the public, like all of you are. And it's always these kinds of disappearances, I think, are always going to be frustrating when you have a young person who is going from one place to another, and they end up on some back road and just seemingly walk off, and there's a bunch of searches in the area and nothing's found. And we've covered some disappearances like that. Maybe Eric Alvarado is a disappearance maybe that comes to mind, kinda. But I'm sure a lot of people think about Brandon Lawson, where he was driving and his truck was found out of gas, and he was nowhere to be found. Yeah, these are real stumpers. And Mara Murray, same thing. Going, of course, with her, seemed to be a lot more going on than was going on with Jason Landry. Still, nobody is quite sure where Mara was driving, whereas with Jason, I think we're all sure where he was going. He was going home. But I'll be doing that Unfound now this weekend, hopefully maybe posted Saturday or Sunday, hopefully. And by the way, for the people who are eligible for the think tank, we will be doing a think tank on Sunday night regarding Jennifer Wilkerson, by the way. Being that is a disappearance that we covered before the think tank got started, we will have a think tank on Sunday evening to talk about her disappearance and talk about the update that I mentioned during the update episode. Hello, Chanda. How are you? Good to see you. Tammy, Fox News 7 reporting backpack filled with narcotics found near Jason's car. Well, I will certainly add that to the Unfound now part. I will surely try to catch the most recent information before I do the Unfound now, Tammy. But thank you for telling me about that. I'm sure I'll run across that, and I don't know what that means, Tammy. Not sure what that means. Don't know. Okay. As for goals for 2021, being that this is New Year's Eve, and I'm not much into New Year's resolutions, but after a year like 2020, you're hoping 2021 is going to be better. That you can't help start thinking about things you wanted to do in 2020 but didn't get to do them, and then you think, well, maybe I'll get to do them in 2021. I know for me in Unfound, I'd certainly like to meet more of Unfound's guests. I have to admit, it's my problem, my fault, that there are some Unfound guests in the Tampa area, at least, who I've not yet met. I've not met the daughter of Lucinda Hewells, Deanna. She lives in the area. I've not yet met the sister of Patty Action, Diane, who was a guest way back when, 2017. And, I need to do that. I think that's it's my fault that hasn't happened. Just to get together with them, talk a little bit more about Lucinda's disappearance, Patty's disappearance, just to keep in contact with them, and just overall, with Vicki Wilkerson passing away. I start to think about, do I keep, obviously I'm open to any time a former guest contacts me, but I think I need to reach out to former guests even more than I do. So I'm resolving to do that in 2021, even more than I already do. And the other thing that is on the agenda for Unfound in 2021 is churning out some more books. Certainly got behind the curve on that. And, the big problem with the books is they are very labor intensive. Very. And you have to keep everything organized. It's an organizational thing. It's a very time consuming. And I'm resolving in 2021 to at least get a few done. Hopefully. So there's a couple things that are on my agenda for Unfound, on top, of course, continuing to do what we already do. In addition to something that was supposed to happen in 2020, me going to some colleges speaking to criminal justice majors about missing persons cases. That didn't happen. I'm hoping that's going to happen in 2021, but that all depends on whether some of these schools are actually going to have students on site in the rooms, in the buildings, in contrast to remote learning, which a lot of places are doing right now. But maybe it'll happen in 2021. I'm really looking forward to that. I was really looking forward to it back in April when a couple of those were on the agenda, but of course they didn't happen. So just try to get it done. A little bit out of my hands, but we'll see what we can do. Jill says, I'm here for 8 minutes. Well, 8 minutes is longer than 7 minutes, Jill. Thank you, Kathy, about the books. I agree. Try to do a great job with them. But the reason, if you think they're good, Kathy, the reason they're so good is because they take time to do. I try to take my time with them. And that's what makes them very labor intensive. The transcriptions and the artwork and all of that, and the proofreading and everything. It's tough. Indy, what a treat. Didn't know you were doing this tonight. You're welcome, Indy. Just something that came up, being that I didn't get it done yesterday, Indy, because I was on the road. That I didn't want to let 2020 go away without doing one more live show. Elizabeth says you can do Zooms. I could, Elizabeth. But I got to tell you, I really just want to be there in person. I realize that given the situation in 2020, that what people have had to deal with, and I think both students, whether in high schools or colleges, and parents and professors and teachers have really had to work through all of this very difficult circumstances, something that nobody could have ever predicted. But I'll be honest, I want to be there in person. So, and I'm willing to wait for that. It's going to happen eventually. But I would like to be in person, have like a PowerPoint presentation and be up there in front, in contrast to Zoom. I mean, this is fine for a live show where it's a little bit of entertainment mixed in with news. But I think for education purposes, I think I'm always going to believe that being there is best. And I'm willing to wait for that. And that's fine. Kim says, spending New Year's Eve with the Unfoundies. Well, yeah, Kim, I thought about yesterday doing a live show, but I was like, well, we can't do it the regular time at 9 o'clock. You know, people are going to be doing things. So that's why I moved it back to 7 o'clock, which is usually time we do the think tanks on Sunday evening. So figure we get this done, and everybody still has plenty of time to start partying it up before midnight gets here. But yeah. Okay, let's take another question. So the last one was from Charlene. Do I ever get overwhelmed? I can answer that. Diana also asked me, how do you handle when people talk in circles? You know, I got to tell you, Diana, I don't have a lot of problems with that. I will tell you, sometimes interviews sometimes go off the rails, and maybe you, the audience, don't realize it because even though the interviews are played as recorded, I do take mistakes out, and I do take those sections out where I really have to jump in and talk to the guest about, well, you know, I asked you this question, but you went off on this tangent, so let's try that again. So when it comes to official interviews, Diana, usually what I do is I just jump in and say, hey, let's take a moment here. Hold on. Let's talk about this for a moment. And so we'll talk through it, and then we'll start again in that section, and that part will get deleted. Now, as far as just first conversations with people, if I find that a person is talking in circles too much and can't answer the questions, then the person probably is not going to be on the program. That's what happens. And this is the exact reason why in a couple of weeks we're going to be covering a disappearance that has become fairly controversial. And I think it's become controversial because the main point person for this disappearance talks in circles. Well, how are we going to handle that? Well, I'm not going to talk to that person. I'm going to talk to everybody else. And what you find out is a lot of these other people who also know about this disappearance have not been interviewed. So that gives us all of you an opportunity to hear these people for the first time. And so I'm not going to talk to this person who doesn't do very good interviews because he likes to go in circles. Not saying he's a suspect or anything else, but I can't have people like that on the program. I just can't do it. So, but that's how I handle with people who talk in circles. If they talk to me in circles in a first conversation or something, then they're not going to be on the program. If I get into a situation like that in an official interview for the program, then I'll just jump right in the middle of the interview and, you know, talk to the, you know, kind of sort these things out. That's how I handle that, Diana. Char says it's 2021 over here in Ireland now, so Happy New Year. Well, Char, Happy New Year to you. We have quite a few Ireland listeners. I know we have Lynn, and we have Sinead, who I know has been with Unfound since day one. So always love hearing from our Irish friends. Suzanne asked me, what has been your best event of the year? Suzanne, you should know I just posted that a few hours ago. I would say my highlight of 2020 was just happened recently. My dad and I winning trivia a couple weeks ago at the place that my team used to go for trivia until COVID happened. My dad and I showed up. There were 19 teams, just me and my dad, and we won. Came from behind to win. I think that's going to be my most memorable moment. I had a lot of great disc golf moments this year. I had a great hole-in-one ace back in March that was spectacular. Played some well in some tournaments. Finished second at a couple. Had a chance to win. Didn't pull them through. But my most memorable moment for 2020 is going to be winning that trivia. Just happened to show up. I hadn't been there for months. Said, Dad, you want to go over? He said, yeah. We went in there and just took it. It was awesome. Lorenzo asks me, if you sip whiskey, do you prefer neat or mixed? Lorenzo, I don't drink at all. I don't drink whiskey. I don't drink bourbon. I don't drink alcohol at all. I've not had a drop of alcohol since probably around 2005. Maybe even longer ago than that. I've never been drunk, never had a buzz. Just something that I never got into. I just could not be less interested. And in fact, if you want to blow me out of a conversation, if I'm ever in a group of people and they want to like ignore me or turn me off, all they have to do is start talking about their favorite alcoholic drinks, and that will just make me walk away. So if you want to alienate Ed Densel, just start talking about alcohol, and I'll gladly leave. No problem. Let's see here. Hi, Cherie. Indy, congrats on the. Hey, Indy. Nobody was more surprised than my dad and myself that we won. Nobody was more surprised. Kathy asked me, what is the most difficult, frustrating disappearance? Kathy, I really don't like to get into superlatives like that. They're all difficult. They're all frustrating in their own way. So I really don't like to get into it like that. Amanda, do you think Nathan Lewis deserved to be targeted the way he was, or do you feel he brought it on himself? I'll answer this. I'm not getting, Brooke's question about who do I think killed. I'm not going to touch that. But, as far as Nathan Lewis, being that, it's now been over 4 years since Tom Brown disappeared and died one way or the other. I think we now know that Nathan Lewis was not a very good sheriff. Okay, and we know that not from Tom Brown's disappearance, but we know that Nathan Lewis fudged paperwork regarding the training of his deputies, which has nothing to do with Tom's disappearance. Now, if we were to go into every sheriff's department in the state of Texas, would probably find some similar things going on. That would not surprise me. But one way or the other, I would think the same. If John Smith is a sheriff in Brown County in Texas and did the same thing, I would think he probably wasn't prepared to be sheriff either. Was he targeted? My perception is that he brought a lot on himself. Okay, I think he did. But I also think, and that's not to say that I agree with the other side of all the people who have gone after him either. I think it's a combination of Nathan Lewis did a lot of the same things that other police officers have done in other states in not taking a disappearance. These are Cherie, you sent me the message. These are questions that I got in the group. I'm reading questions that are coming to me in the group, Cherie, not on the comments. I'm sorry if you misunderstood that. I'm looking, if you go to the group, you'll see the questions in here. I don't know, for example, if Lorenzo, who is, I think, Lorenzo, I don't know if he's watching or not, but he sent me a message earlier regarding a question in the group, Cherie. I'm sorry there was a little bit of confusion there. I don't think anybody has you blocked or anything, Cherie. I'm just looking at questions that have come in the group for the questions post where I requested questions. So I'm sorry if you were confused by that. That's my fault. Nathan Lewis deserved to be targeted. I don't believe he was targeted. I think he brought on a lot of them himself. On the other hand, I think that if Tom Brown doesn't disappear, I think he probably is still sheriff. I think it was just a lot of things coming together that caused him to finally caused his resignation. I also think that it was a bad move on top of everything else that he recorded that meeting in August of 2019. He should have never done that. Should have never done that. And that nobody made him record that. He did that himself. And he shouldn't have done it. I don't know if it's illegal. I don't know if it's immoral, but it certainly was unethical. And then he was the one who allowed everybody to speculate as to who recorded it. That's on him. That's not on any of us. Shouldn't have done it. And that didn't help his situation. It certainly didn't. But I think as a sheriff, when you start forging paperwork, that even if it has to do with training, even if it doesn't have to do with any arrests or anything, I think you put yourself in a very precarious position as to whether you're going to keep your job or not. That's not targeting. He did that. He did that. So I think for the most part, he brought it on himself. And it seems to me, my perception is the job was a little too much for him. And it cost him. Now, as far as whether he had anything to do with Tom's disappearance and everything, I'm not going to touch that in this live show. So there's that. So let me see if I have anything else here. Update episode. Let me talk about TJ Murray just a little bit. Let me go back here. Let me see. Yeah, sorry about that, Cherie. You're not getting blocked by anybody. I'm just looking at questions that have come in into the group in the group discussion on Facebook that have happened since the show started. That's all that's going on. Sorry about that, Cherie. This week we were supposed to cover the disappearance of TJ Murray because of driving back here to Pennsylvania. Just no time to put it all together the way I wanted to. TJ's episode is going to be a long one because I did the interview with his father on Sunday. And then I had at least 3 discussions with 3 people who are very relevant to the disappearance in a variety of capacities. So I'm going to be talking about my conversations with them after the interview. And that's going to take some time. So I just did not feel like, I had enough time to do a quality job. Even if I brought all of the equipment up here to Pennsylvania and tried to do it today, it was starting to feel very rushed to me. And anytime I start to feel rushed for an episode, and then I have to start thinking, what's going on here? Am I making the right choices? So I decided to push it back for a week. And that'll also help with some other disappearances that we're working on. And but you usually don't find out about a disappearance we're going to cover this far in advance. But next Friday, so that will be December 8th or January 8th, 2021, we'll be covering the disappearance of Thomas Charles Murray Jr., who disappeared from Spring, Texas in October of 2011. And I will go into much more of the details next week, some of the circumstances and some of the controversies, as I usually do on the live show next Wednesday toward the end of the live show. I think I have to tell you, this given how much coverage will be for TJ's disappearance, it should be interesting to see what comes out of it. It should be very interesting. And I've already posted the link to the interview, the cold case investigator who's now responsible for TJ Murray's disappearance. I've already posted the interview that he did earlier this year. And I would, in the group on the page on Facebook, you have to watch that. You absolutely have to watch that or listen to it. At some point. I would say before the episode comes out on Friday, but I don't, next Friday. I don't decide your schedules for you, but you definitely need to listen to it for sure. You can listen to that and then put it together with everything that is covered in the episode. So I've already posted that. I hope you will have an opportunity to go through all of that. Another question, once again, in the group, Cherie. Sarah asked me, I saw your article regarding Brianna Hughes' disappearance a while back. Would you ever consider doing an episode? Yeah. Yes, Sarah. I believe Brianna is still missing, right? If she is still missing, if no remains have been found, then we certainly would consider it. I realize that it's a fairly well-known disappearance, and being that it's from Upper Brill Township, which is near where I grew up, that certainly gets my attention. So sure, we can do that. Absolutely, no problem. Just thinking, I'm wondering if this is one of the disappearances we covered when I worked with the Trib. I should know that. Yeah. We could certainly give it a shot, Sarah. We'll just have to see. I think I was thinking of Brianna Maitland, which is also a disappearance that is still unsolved, but it's from much longer ago and did not happen in Pennsylvania, I don't think. Maybe it did. But Sarah, if you're watching, yes, we would certainly take a look at Brianna Hughes' disappearance. Once again, the big question is that one of the disappearances that I covered, that I helped with the Trib in Pennsylvania? I don't remember. I'll check into that. But what else do I have here? I think that's about it. Let me see here. That's about it. Not bad for putting together a live show in about an hour. Got a lot of good questions. That always helps. That moves things along. But I think that's it. And that's it for 2020. Brianna Maitland, Vermont. Thank you, Kathy. Yeah, Brianna Hughes is from Upper Brill Township, which is like 25 minutes from where I grew up in Leechburg. So might have to give it a shot. I'll have to talk to Emily, my assistant Emily, about that. But that's all I have. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in on a Thursday instead of a Wednesday and 2 hours earlier than we usually do this. Please have a great time tonight. Don't drink and drive. If you're staying home, that's fine too. And let's hope that 2021 is a better year. Especially for, of course, in the fighting of this virus and trying to get everything back to normal as is possible. Of course, nothing's ever, I guess, normal. But thank you for everyone. Thank you for the Super Chat contributions tonight. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your support. I want to assure all of you that myself and my assistants in 2021 will continue to work as hard as we ever have on these disappearances, and we will continue to work as hard as we can to continue to earn your trust. All right, we never take that for granted. So everybody, thank you so much. Great seeing all of you tonight. And you will hear me, I guess, tomorrow in an old episode of Unfound. And for you think tankers, I will see you or see your names on Sunday evening. Happy New Year, everyone. See ya.